I guess we can just start. That's fine.
Okay.
I
Yeah.
just wanted to get the ball rolling.
Yeah.
But
No.
okay. So welcome back to the podcast. I'm Alexis and this is Roz. Can you introduce yourself?
Yes. Sure. I'm Roz Corona or Roz Lucero Corona. I am the founder of the Chingona Community. I am a mother of four. I am a very, very proud woman, a woman of power. I am a Loyola Marymount graduate, and I am by day I'm sales, and by night my passion is helping forward the women movement.
So, what is your background? And let's like start into your background of like your ethnicity, your
Yeah.
upbringing, childhood dreams, goals. What
Yeah.
were you? Yeah, just tell me, fill me in on all of that.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because I identify with being like Mexican American. My parents grew up, one in South Central, one in the city of Maywood, so like in like LA.
Uh huh.
And then they migrated into like the Downey area. And one thing that my dad actually set forth to do was to move us as far from the freeway as he could. So we grew up in La Mirada.
Okay.
And it's funny because growing up, I always was so embarrassed by that. All my friends lived in like Whittier or Pico. I'm like, oh my God, we live in La Mirada. I'm like, and forgive for saying this, but this is as a child, right? This is like the
Right.
depiction or the vision you see as a child. I'm like, okay, well, we're like whitewashed Mexican.
Yeah.
We live in La Mirada. We live in a predominantly like upper middle class kind of area.
Yeah.
We did not go to La Mirada High School, which my daughter just graduated from La Mirada, which I'm very proud of.
What high
Um,
school did you go to?
I went to St. Paul
Okay.
High School in the city of Santa Fe Springs.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Is
So
that like is that private?
it is a private, it's a
Okay.
co-ed, but I fought to go to the co-ed because my parents wanted to send me to Rosary, and I cried and cried and
Was that
cried.
an all girl
All
school?
girl school, yeah, all girl school in Orange County, and I cried
Okay.
about it. Yeah, yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So
So, okay, so sorry I interrupted
yeah, yeah,
you.
no, that's
Go
okay.
ahead and
Yeah,
keep going into your
no,
background.
yeah, no, proud Mexican American. I'm the oldest of four. My mom is she's got two siblings. My mom's actually adopted. Not many people know that. So whether or not she's in like this little podcast, it's not a podcast. Now it is. But it's funny because I learned that later on in life. My dad is one of three as well. He's the only boy. His dad died when he was really young. So I really never knew my like birth grandpa, or my, I guess I should call it. But yeah, no, we grew up in a great life. Like I would have never known any of that as a kid.
Yeah.
I had a grandma and grandpa. I had a nana and papa, and we did a lot of family stuff. And to me, I didn't think that that was odd, except for, again, as I got into my early, uh, late adolescent, early teens, and I was like so mortified about where I lived, and I thought that's horrible. Like that, like when I look at it, I think it's hilarious.
Why do you think that is though? Like, why do you think that you were like mortified or like you had some sense of just insecurity maybe or like
Yeah,
yeah, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but
yeah.
like
No, but I think it was the time. Like we grew up in the '90s.
okay.
We were in a predominantly Hispanic Latin area culture, if you will, like Nike Cortez and like wanting to fit in, our dark lined lipstick, our cha-cha hair still, like we still got some of that from the '80s, like that trickled down.
Yeah.
So I think that for me coming like into, wanting to be cool, but not realizing we were already cool anyways. I was born cool, but like, again, I think it was just more of, we were a little bit like to the side, but not. And then when we got into the environment of where I grew up in, as far as like high school, I maybe I felt like I wanted to fit in, not
Okay.
realizing I already did. Like I don't know. I think it's like the stupidest thing, because when I look at, my best friend and my friends, like we were all kind of from the same area, and like we're the same culture, but like I don't know why as a kid I just saw it a little bit different.
Yeah, I feel like it's always cooler to when you're a kid to just like make it seem like you grew up from like the
A bad
struggle.
area. Like yeah,
Yeah.
I was like hardcore.
Yeah, like that makes you cooler.
Yeah, yeah, no, yeah, and at that time, I think it kind of did, just like when I went into college, the insecurity I had was that I was probably like seriously one of 2% of the Latin community at Loyola Marymount that did not speak Spanish,
Okay.
and Mecha was still very relevant. I was in the Latino Business Student Association, so we were still very much, and at that time, even more of a minority. Still, like Loyola needs to do some work on some of the minority numbers, but
Right.
at that time, that was one of my insecurities. So it was one thing like going to school in Santa Fe Springs and really like not wanting to tell people I was from La Mirada. Going to college, I was so mortified that I did not speak Spanish.
Dude, I'm the same way.
Yeah.
I understand I understand Spanish. I don't speak it, and it's because I lack that confidence too. And my grandmas, both of them, like spoke to me in Spanish, which is why like I can understand it.
Yeah.
I don't have that confidence to speak it though, and I probably didn't practice it enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
My parents came here as like kids, so I would also say it was like an insecurity of theirs is that they didn't want their kids to be bullied for not speaking
Yeah.
English
Yeah.
like correctly.
Yep.
And so because of that, they kind of, my mom won't admit this, but like they steered away from practicing Spanish with me at home.
Yep.
And because of that, I'm here as a 31-year-old, like still struggling and feeling shame. I
Yeah.
feel
Oh,
shame.
I hate it. I'm like
Yeah.
so like I even like to this day as an adult, the benefit and the value add that you
Yeah,
come with
right?
being bilingual, like it's like amazing. Yeah.
Just like not even, I know a lot of people like to say like, oh, there's a financial benefit, but it's not even just that financial
Communicating
benefit.
with everyone.
It's
Like you can
like
communicate with people that like you like, yeah,
your
no.
elders, like,
Everything.
yeah, and just like you can help more people if you can speak the
Well,
language,
for
you
me, for
know?
sales, like when we would go on sales calls, and a majority of what I was doing for staffing, like a lot of like the temp workers spoke Spanish.
Yeah.
And when if I wanted to get good leads, I'd go to the parking lot. I'm like, oh, I would try my best, and like, and then luckily if I had bilingual speaking colleagues with me, I'm like, ask them. I'm like, ask them who they use. Ask me, you know, because
Yeah,
that's the thing.
yeah.
I can't communicate with them,
Yeah.
you know, and it's embarrassing
I
for me.
struggle
It
with
was,
that
yeah,
too, for sure.
yeah.
And it still sometimes feels embarrassing because you've probably experienced this, but where people see you and they start speaking Spanish to you,
Always. Oh, you don't? I'm like, oh,
and I'm like,
I can understand a little.
poquito.
Yes. I said, muy poquito.
Yeah, for sure. And I've struggled with that too. But going back to like what you're saying, like I think young as when I was in high school, I'm from Highland Park.
Yeah. Okay.
So my mom sent me to Alhambra High because she wanted me to be at a better high school.
Okay.
Franklin was the nearby school in Highland Park.
I know exactly, Franklin.
Yeah.
One of my daughters, Nina's, went there.
And my mom and dad both went to Franklin. They did not want me to go there. It
Yep.
was still pretty rowdy
Yep.
over there.
The avenues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so she got her ass up every morning and drove me and my brother. My brother went to EGROC because he was in the magnet program there. And she drove me to Alhambra High. And I remember when I would hang around like the little cholos that were at Alhambra, I felt like a flex that I was like, yeah, I'm from Highland Park.
Yeah. We're harder than you.
Yeah. Like, you guys don't know shit.
Yeah. No, serious. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's like a struggle. And I think it's so complex to be a Latina just in California, in the United States. It's such a struggle
It
because
is.
you have all these like identities that people really don't want you to fit into,
Yeah.
or I don't know, and you feel like you kind of don't even have a space,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
And so I did want to, we might be jumping into this, but we can go back and forth about things. So I did want to like know what ignited you to start your organization.
You know, like truthfully, just networking. Like I'm a huge proponent of networking. I shared this with somebody yesterday. Like I don't know if it was for a business deal, but I said, you know, I truly have been networking and building relationships for 30 years. I just turned 46 a few weeks ago, and for like the past 30 years, I have built this amazing, what we call quote unquote. I had this a mentor of mine use this term, like Rolodex, not realizing what I was building, not realizing what it was attracting, not realizing what it would be for later. And when I started the group, it was to do some extra networking for work.
Okay.
Because I thought, okay, I do all these fucking like chambers and, you know, work societies for the most part, like SHRM and PIRA. Those are like professional organizations for like HR and stuff. So I do all these things. I'm like, some of them are like so like not they're boring, you know, no, you don't get anything out of them. So I thought, you know what, I want to get business leads, but B, I want to make it to where like we can help other women like stay connected. And I only want it to be women because I'm being biased, but because I think that we need it more.
Yes.
So my husband and, well, actually I shouldn't say my husband, friends would always call me Chingona because I work out a lot. And I told my husband, I said, hey, so I think I'm going to start this like women's group. I said, but do you think people will freak out at the word Chingona? Because like he is seriously first generation from Mexico.
Yeah.
And I said, I'm like, because I'm hearing like it's like kind of a bad word, but no, he's like, well, and he explain. I'm like, and then I thought even like talking about being rowdy, I'm like, oh, that's cool. We have the bad word as our name. So that was kind of it. Like the Chingona community was birthed.
What does Chingona mean?
To me, or what does it mean?
To you and to your organization.
Well, a woman who is fearless, who is intelligent, who is like unstoppable, doesn't let anything get in her way, is very, preserving and badass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, okay, so you got started with the organization, and were you just talking about like starting a group, or were like
it was
how
like
did it really
it was
start,
meant to be once a quarter.
Okay.
I was going to charge everybody $25, $40. We're going to have a drink ticket. We're going to have a speaker. And we're going to collect business cards.
Okay.
I did not think anything more. I truly did not. It was an idea on a piece of paper. When I saw what I wanted to do, I'm like, all right, once a quarter, I'll just set the meeting. I'll find a restaurant. We did one local restaurant in Santa Fe Springs, Geezers. But before that, I had already wanted a logo because I'm very like, okay, I want everything, to be perfect.
Yeah.
So yeah, I had my dad. I said, hey, I'm starting this group. I was going to really originally call it the Corporate Chingonas.
Okay.
I thought you do that, I'm like going to scare all kinds of people, like best friends included. They're like, oh, what is this corporate shit? Like, what I mean? Like, I'm like, I'm not trying to do that. I want it to be inclusive. And I asked my daughter, I said, I need a C word. I go, what's a good C word? And at the time, my daughter was in high school still. She said, how about community? I'm like, oh my God, it's like the best word. I'm like, Chingona Community. I'm like, oh my God, that's it. So I told my dad, and I gave him I said, I want an old English. I go, but real clean at the bottom. He drew 9 logos. The same logo that he picked was the same logo that I picked.
Oh, your dad drew them out?
Yeah.
That's sick.
Yeah.
Cool.
And we the same exact one. He's like, here's all of them, but see which one. We picked the same one. I made shirts. And originally I was going to sell them that night. I was like, oh, everybody's here for the first time. Everybody's going to get a shirt. And the original
you get a shirt.
You get a shirt. Yeah. And the original one, my dad screwed up though. He put Chingonas. So if you're really a part of like the first 27 that night, you have like the old shirt that says Chingonas with an S, community. I told my dad, that doesn't make sense. It's Chingona Community. Community is already plural, But yeah, no, it was just meant to do that. This was in 2019, June of 2019. And we did each of our quarterly meetings, and then COVID happened.
Oh, okay.
And COVID like knocked everything up. And I thought, oh my God, I'm thinking I'm just starting something, But one thing that COVID did allow me to, which I need to go home and do for my other business, is I started the process with trademarking. I read a little bit about it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start an LLC. I'm going to do consulting and this, that, not even realizing that what I was building was totally not that. It's a community servant organization meant to help women grow, meant to help women not be catty Latinas and or women, because this is not just for Latinas. And I think my Latina friends will get offended by that. Some of them might.
No, I totally understand.
But I'm like, no, this is all. And that's the thing when people pigeonhole the Chingona community into Latina, I'm like, it's promoting all women. Like we all need a space. We all need a voice. We all have a skill. We all have, whether it be deep pockets, great connections, a good heart, whatever it might be that we need. We can't just do it with one culture. Like we're all the same, like, same but different,
Yeah, for sure.
So, but yeah, no, it was birthed as more of like a business and transformed after COVID. Truly, I was starting to see it. Like we're doing food drives, we're doing book drives, we're doing inspiring talks, we're doing promoting people's I mean, that when I started really watching it like blow up, I had a couple of mentors say, but you got to get pillars. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, you're kind of like, octopus.
Pillars.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then so how did you find yourself to just like narrow it, I guess?
Turned off the LLC immediately. I saw this wasn't a business. I saw it was a 501c3. I was very much criticized by some people that I'm like,
What do you mean? What were they saying?
Oh my God, how are you going to make money off a 501c3? And I'm like, yeah, I know, but I'm like, we're not making money. Like I'm spending money to like help all these women like grow. Like this is a nonprofit. Like this is a, county, city, community leaders like fund us to like teach each other stuff, like fund us to network, like no, like I learned that the hard way, not knowing. So turned off an LLC, applied for a 501c3, got our letter, didn't even know it. It sat in my PO box for like 2 months. Did everything on LegalZoom, learned it by asking people questions, but still like you have to like do it and try, do it and fail and try, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until 2022 that actually 2021, it was post-COVID. I sat one day to look, I'm like, you know what? Because somebody had said these pillars, well, what are you really about? I'm like, I don't know. So I got on my phone, was getting my nails done, went January to December. I did 56 events, only 2 I did not attend, and they all varied from workshops to going to somebody's veterans event to going to a golf tournament to going to a school. Like you name it, we did it. And then I just broke up the pillars: leadership, development, and business, community, like the stuff that we would do to like give back to the community. And then I did wellness. I'm a big wellness. Not only do I like to work out, but brain is big to me about being self-healthy.
Mental health.
Mental health is huge, right? So I broke those 56 events down and I put them in the buckets. I'm like, all right, this is the pillars and here's what we're going to do. So it was just living the experience to have to break it down that way. Nobody told me what to do, but I already knew what to do. It's weird.
Okay. Yeah. What did you want to do when you were a kid?
A dancer.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh, I still like have these, like, if I die tomorrow, I hope God puts me in a choreographer or I wanted to be a roadie.
Okay.
I wanted to be like a backup dancer.
Did you ever have like any insight that you wanted to pursue like a nonprofit organization helping women?
Nobody in a million years. I say this. I'm like, if somebody would ask me 10 years ago, like, do you think of it? I'm like, no. Like, and then I would say, like, what's a nonprofit? In my staffing career, a nonprofit to me, when I did my pricing, I'm like, oh, the nonprofits don't have any money. I never knew why. Like, I'm like, I have to give them a cheap rate because like they're cheap. But I'm like, it's a nonprofit, but never really understanding what it meant, the setup, the reason, the purpose, right?
Yeah.
I just knew these as different businesses: commercial, retail, nonprofit, food. Like I just knew there was a different kind of line of business. And now in hindsight, oh my God, I worked with nonprofits forever. You name the nonprofit, I've worked with them.
Yeah.
The AIDS Foundation, Para los Niños, like even LACMA is considered a nonprofit, right? Mm-hmm. There, but if you don't know that, like you don't know that. But I've worked with nonprofits for probably 20 years, which is crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
So maybe that like helped you navigate
maybe, but not though.
No?
Like I still don't think I created my own trouble in my 20s. I've got 4 babies' dads, and I'm not ashamed of that. I think I suffered from confidence issues, not realizing it until like later in life, which is weird.
Like you had low self-esteem?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Probably just like, oh, I've got this guy to like me. Like, he has to like me. Like, but very much don't know I don't know where the fuck that came from. I really don't. Like when I look at it again, I don't know where that had come from. But
like the low self-esteem.
Yeah, because I don't think anybody would ever think I have had confidence issues.
Yeah,
but
you look very like confident, and you sound very sure of what you're talking about. So your energy just gives off confidence. Yeah. So I don't know how you did that.
I don't either.
Because I need to learn.
I don't. Yeah.
No. I'm still working on it.
Here. Just kidding.
Thank you. And I'm just like, maybe I should show up to your events and stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I just learned about you guys' organization, so I'm like really excited. Sadly, my days off are Thursday and Friday, and I know your big event just happened, right?
Yeah.
Let's talk about that.
Yeah. We celebrated our 3rd annual Chingona Community Awards and Scholarship Program. Within the awards, post-COVID, my gift to the girls, I'll never forget, we were at Maggie's Pub. It was like still like incognito. You still had to wear masks. And I got a little bit nervous because the guy let us have the meeting. But I'm like, I told, I was doing HR stuff. I'm like, everybody has to sign a waiver. I'm like, because if anybody gets COVID, like, I'm not still done yet. Like, we don't have, because we didn't have letters yet. Like, I was waiting for the letter. We were in the process.
Yeah. And
so anyways, fast forward to that meeting. I had a speaker and stuff. And I said, and when this shit's done, I'm like, we're going to have a fucking party. Like, like, and everybody like, So I committed to the women to do that. And we did that. Yeah. So 3 years in now, I'm super, super proud. Our first awards event, we gifted $700 in scholarships Our second was 7,000, and this past year we did 8,000. We had a goal of 10, but I also have like there's requirements to get the scholarship. I want to make sure these women come back to serve.
Yeah.
Because I think that's a big lack and a gap that we have with this generation's not willing to go back unless like they have to, you know, or they paid for it, right? You know?
Totally.
So, but no, it was huge. We honored 5 women, from utilities to schools to get council, real estate. And then we gifted the scholarships, which was amazing. And then we hosted at the City Club in Los Angeles downtown, which was so badass.
So cool.
It was amazing.
Yeah, I know. I worked those days, so I'm like a little annoyed that I couldn't go. But yeah, it looked like fun.
It was super fun. It was my birthday too.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was too much fun.
So you said you're 46. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so what have been some maybe learning points for you throughout this whole experience of starting this nonprofit?
There's been so many. I think the biggest is that I don't think anyone's ever prepared that you're going to have people in your corner that jam, because they're going to think that you are doing things for the wrong reasons and not realizing like so much blood, sweat, and tears and work goes into this. That was disheartening. But at the same token, I had somebody remind me that people expire. You know, sometimes people are in your life for a certain time and there's a reason for that.
Totally.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think that was one thing that maybe was a little bit challenging. I mean, but I've also experienced that too. Like when you start, and I don't mean like with money, but people get very envious and jealous of success, which is so horrible. And
I was going to ask you about that too.
Yeah. And it's worse when you're a woman.
Yes.
So I think that that's one thing I've always been prepared for, because it's happened to me before. But I think in the small circle that I keep with like my friends, because I do have a small, like a real, like these are those small ones, like, and you know, and I know a lot of people, but some folks that fell out of that, I was like, damn, but I'm like, it means that stuff's going well in the sense that hopefully they know they're welcome and that they can come back, because that's not what I preach. Everything that has kind of happened to me, I preach against, you know? So I think that was one thing that I had to learn that I wasn't necessarily fully prepared for, but again, it's life. And I think the other thing is that like, not everyone wants to help you.
That's a good point. Okay.
Not everyone wants to help you. And it's not because they're envious. Some of it could truly be genuinely like time and they've got family issues. Like that's different. You know, maybe they just don't know how to speak up about it.
Right.
But some folks who are like, oh yeah. And then all of a sudden I'm like, hey, you know, I finally got that I need. Oh, and I'm like, like, where'd you go? Like, you know, so then sometimes the people that didn't fully want to help, but I didn't know that kind of was harmful, because it can knock you down to where like, fuck, why am I doing all this? Like, it's so much work. You know, maybe I'm really not meant out for this a little bit. You know, you get the imposter syndrome.
Totally. Every day.
Yeah. No. So I think that, and then I don't think I even realized, I'm like, how could I, surviving non-confidence and babies, daddies, and bad relationships and drugs and whatever it is that I dabbled in that wasn't good, how can I get through all that but not get through, like, you know, I can never suffer from imposter syndrome. No, I can. Yeah. So I think that was one tough lesson for me to learn, not from not being confident, but like, damn, it exists. It's real, you know?
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I was going to ask you, because I assume usually when you're doing something good and you're being successful at it, you're going to always have the people that are jealous of you, the people that don't want to help you, that are kind of low-key haters.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I know you have probably experience with that.
Yeah. And I let it go though. I mean, I think for the first couple burn, but then after I'm like, I can't worry anymore.
Yeah.
You know, like I just can't worry anymore. I have a goal. I have, I'm too far up this hill now to like let the other women not get what I want to give to them.
Yeah.
And so I gotta keep going. And like I said, open door, like, come on back. Like, you know, but, yeah, I don't think you ever get prepared for when people like really, really like talk about you, talk down to you, and say things that like truly you're like it's like feels like a dagger in your heart. You know? Yeah. And that burns.
Yeah.
I'm human.
And it definitely, I could say this even with the podcast, you have people in your life that you kind of, maybe you shouldn't expect things from people, and that's something I want to practice like constantly.
Yeah.
But you do kind of expect, like, you know, friends to be supportive of you.
Yeah.
And you do kind of expect friends to like help you or offer help, but not like overwhelmingly just in any way, just support me, please.
Yeah. Yeah.
I need this because
Yeah.
like I'm dying here.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think the other thing is that people just don't realize, like, seriously, the cost, the time, the energy. Maybe some of my wording early on could have been like, oh my God, because I mean, truly, I think my investment in this um, journey of mine, I mean, we're talking close to like 100 G's, which, you know, when you do that over math over time, like, it's not to meant to like gloat or to be like, somebody owes me. It's just to make somebody understand, like, the investment is what it will take for something to grow.
Right.
And nobody gave that. And that was a hard thing, meaning like, everyone's like, well, you can get money here. I'm like, but I don't have my letter yet. Like, you learn all those things along the way. So maybe like wording I could have used different, but not really, because that is part of the journey. I never stopped. And it wasn't because I'm like, oh my God, this is sucking so much time and money. Like, no, I'm like, okay, well, we need this. We got to figure it out. Like, you know, how do we, like, you know, it's like Tetris. How do you like move it around so we can like keep making it move, you know?
Like maneuver the whole situation.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah.
How have you learned to manage the people in your organization? Like, did you already have management experience?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I've already managed
So that
sales.
came naturally for you.
Yeah, yeah. And that's the thing. You know that you're heavy hitters, you know, the ones that what their thresholds are, what they're good at. Like, if you're a really good leader, you pick all different ones because you got to have, okay, somebody does good at that, somebody does good at that. So that wasn't that challenging.
You have like that awareness
Yeah.
of people.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
you read people well, I'm assuming?
Yeah, for the most part. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
every so often, like a curveball will come, but like, yeah, no. Yeah.
Were you hesitant at first to include friends and family in your organization?
No, because I was scared that somebody was going to like jack me.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm like, someone's going to like, you know, want us to really, really fall. Like, I need someone to do, hey, just in case, like, you know, like that, you know. So, no, not at all. And if anything, I was very selective when I started, like, the board. I was selective with who I called based on skill set, trust, loyalty, ability, even time. I was very, like, right now, I'm not regretting like what I did with the board and the process, but the only thing that I wish I would have done a little bit better is not to undersell, but like, I didn't know how much time this was going to take. So when I first had, you know, asked and did some presenting, I did the bare, I'm like, it's only this, you know, and it wasn't because I was lying. I'm like, I'll just do everything else. I'll just do everything else.
Yeah.
But like, that's like the worst, that's the worst way to go in. I'm like, no. I'm like, okay, be realistic. Might be 3, but you know, just put 5, round it up to 5. So just in case. And that, so that's the only thing, not picking the talents or the skills, but I really wish that I would have thought more about, you can't do it all.
Yeah.
And it was never a power trip. It was just like, I don't want to bother anybody. Like, just fucking do it. Don't, you know what I mean? Like, I don't want to like, oh no, it's okay. Just do those ones. I'll do these 5. You just do 2, you know?
Yeah.
So the only thing that I kind of regret, but it's just, you don't know that until you get into it.
Have you ever struggled with asking people for help?
No.
No?
No.
You've always been
No.
secret?
If anything, I think people think I don't ask for help. I'm like, I ask for it and then like, it just doesn't come. And there's somebody be like, oh yeah, I can. And they're like, oh, but I can't anymore. I'm like, oh. And I don't get mad anymore. I just always be ready for it. If you might just have to do it all. Like, who cares?
Yeah.
So no, I'll ask anybody for help. I'll ask anybody for money. I'll ask anybody for support. Like, I will be that voice for everybody. Like, what do y'all need? I'm like, I'll ask for it all.
Yeah.
So no. I just think it's maybe lack of commitment sometimes. Maybe people are like, oh yeah, I can, but they can't. Like, I don't know. I don't know what it is, but no, I don't have a problem asking for help.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay. I also wanted to ask you about burnout, because have you ever experienced it? That's within the organization or with, like, outside of it too. Just like,
yeah.
Yeah.
That's a tough one. I've been called everything from the Energizer Bunny to Speedy Gonzalez to like, oh my God, we didn't know we could try, you know. But I think that's passion.
Okay.
So I don't necessarily know that I've suffered burnout from the Chingona community because like I love it so much. Maybe I'll get flustered sometimes when I don't feel like I have enough help and I have to keep asking people for help when, again, like you just got to you just try a different method. I think I suffer burnout more when I do things that I don't like.
Okay.
Yeah. So if there's something that like maybe my heart's not full-fledged in it, but I really got to do that and I have to do it because I have to do it. And then, you know, I think it's more of things that maybe are not forced, but like, I mean, I wish I could do this for my full-time job. So sometimes maybe my job I can suffer burnout because it's not something that I'm dying to do. It's not mine,
What
you
do
know?
you do for your full-time job again?
Oh, I just got a new job. I'm selling food. I work for a produce company.
Okay.
20 years I was doing staffing, just got dumped from my job, inflation, highest paid, huge performer, new owners. Like it was just like the standard, like what could happen to you midlife career. But yeah, today I'm selling produce. I'm a sales rep by trade, but I think my burnout will come more from doing something that I'm not fully like wanting to do.
Did you always want to do, I mean, like, you gravitated towards sales? Like that's something that came
My
naturally?
Myers-Briggs test told me that shit. All my work, or you take the school personality, and I would read. I'm like, oh my god, I'm like be mortified. Like I'm like, I would never want to do sales. I'm like, oh, you talk to all these people and do all this stuff, and I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, girl, you've been selling since you've probably been selling since I was 12, and not even realizing that I was selling. So personality test and like career, education trait tests would always say it, but I never thought I would until I got into it. And then now I'm like, you're so stupid. Like, I wish I would have sold something better, like earlier in my career, because I think that,
What are some things you've sold?
oh, well, I've sold copiers,
Okay.
I've sold service plans, I've sold people,
Sold people.
staffing.
I
I should
was
say,
like, wait, hold up.
I know. I should say I've sold labor. I've sold postage and postage. Like if somebody's going to build out a new mailroom, sold everything from their postage to the actual mailroom concept itself. I've sold Autodesk and Revit, which are engineering programs. And then today I've sold food. So I've sold almost like a lot of commodities, a lot of stuff.
When you say food, do you mean like you're selling food to like companies or to markets?
So both restaurants,
Okay.
and then like on a retail, like larger scale. So it could be to a Vallarta or Superior Grocers, or it could be to a restaurant, a Gaucho Grill or anything around the corner here on Sunset.
Yeah.
So produce.
Cool.
Yeah, yeah.
Anyway, sorry, I got on tangents about your sales
That's okay.
experience, but so going back to the Chingona community,
Yep.
um, what are some things that what are some challenges you've experienced, like some hard challenges that you felt like it was like really hard for you and you overcame it?
People accepting the name still. Like,
Okay.
yeah. Like, I mean, I'll never forget, like during COVID, I would thank people. We made masks and we had our shirts, and I would write, I'm like, oh, I thank you so much for being so Chingona. Oh, and then I could never wear this though. I'm like, what? And then I'm like, oh, you were just excited about it. You think it's like really cool. And then you're like, but I can't wear this, or I can't wear this here. Oh, and I'm like, okay. So that to me was a challenge because I'm like, okay, women, do you realize really what the word means? Like,
Yeah.
look up who patented the definition. I have a friend of a friend. So somebody who went to school with her, she went to UCI. I think her name's Melinda. It's skipping me right now. But she patented the definition for a certain reason.
Oh, crazy.
I've never had it. I need to circle back with her. I need to get her into one of our forums to do some speaking. But the reason why, if you read the definition, it's to help us be more powerful and to show people that we are badass and to turn something that was looked at derogatory in a positive, because we are strong and we need a word that like exemplifies that. So I think that would be one of the things that I've just struggled with because I felt so passionate about it. And then people are, you're really going to need to spin that a little different. I'm like, well, why? And even when we were getting the awards set up, our first awards event was hosted out of Loyola. Out of a group of 7, I had one person that I wish I knew who they were, fought to the end, that did not want us to host the awards there because of the name.
Just because of the name,
Mm-hmm.
damn.
Mm-hmm.
That's low-key kind of like form of racism too.
Yep. I was just gonna say prejudice.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Has the organization helped you have more of a connection with your culture?
Yes and no, because I'm still, again, I'll get like chastised. I'm gonna throw something at me after this. I still feel like I've been you used the word bullied earlier, kind of. I feel like I've been a little bit bullied and again, had been catty situations with our own culture that I'm like, So yes and no, because I think I've kind of trying to break that, but then help our culture, meaning break that stigma that we just have to only be Latinas. Like, no, again, everybody has all, just like being a leader, you have all these different traits for different people. So to me, it's important to make sure that that stays evident. And to me, that's a little bit reverse of, do you think it brought me into my culture a little bit? I think what organization has brought to me is just being a stronger woman in like all aspects of my being, stronger at the gym, stronger mentally, stronger to want to help people. I don't mind that people call me all day, like, do you know somebody? I've got clothes that gotta donate. I'm looking for an admin. Do you know you can host this? Somebody, I don't mind that, because I think that that's the powerful thing about being a Chingona, is that culture or not, I'm able to help all these women do all kinds of stuff. I love
Yeah.
it. Like, I love it.
Um, yeah, I was just gonna say, because like the font that you have too, it's very it's like Cholo-esque.
Yeah.
And I feel like that ties in, and then the name Chingona, it's very like Chicano.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it like ties into the culture.
Yeah. But that's probably like my old school, like dying to be a chola, dying to wear. Me and my sister had our matching white or Cortez, and we were rolling to St. Paul. Like, my high school boyfriend drove a Regal, and that was the coolest thing ever. Like, no, I still think that maybe in some sort of way it ties to it, because I am very much proud.
Yeah.
I'm proud. I am a proud minority. I'm a proud um, Mexican American woman. I'm a very proud minority. I'm all about figuring out how we can get just as much as everyone else.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I agree. I've come across like in family, in friends' family or friends, just the toxicity of the like, I feel like our culture has a lot of haters in it. And like, not, and a lot of it does come from women. I mean, not that like men are like not a part of it, but
Right.
like a lot of the women feel like, I don't know, just like so competitive against each
And
other.
we shouldn't. I'm
I
so against
agree.
it. I'm like, so like, why can't we just all help each other? Like,
Right?
we're all suffering. We're all being underpaid. Like, come on, we're all
Yeah,
like,
right?
everybody
Like,
get lock your arms. Let's go.
get
Like,
the big picture of it. Like,
yeah.
let's, like, in my head, I want to be like all kumbaya, but like
Yeah.
then somebody crosses me and I'm just like, fuck you.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. No.
I don't even want to help you.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. I'm trying. I have been told many times, and I'm very proud of this, that people feel welcome when they come. I didn't know it was going to be like this. And when I get different cultures, like, does it matter if I'm Asian? I'm like,
Yeah.
no, Winnie, come. I'm like, and I have to at least do that, because then again, it just helps break the barrier down. And I'm proud of that. I'm super proud of that. I am super proud that people feel welcome. I'm super proud that we have all walks of life, all cultures represented, because my whole thing, and even with the font, that's to let people know that I'm a hard ass. Like, no, we're badass. My font's going to show it. I love the old English. I am gangster to the core. Like, I think that that's something that I'm proud of, but that is me. That
Yeah,
is me. Yeah.
for sure. Do you have the organization like do you plan to expand it like outside of LA
Oh,
or
you must have like read my emails today.
okay. Yeah, I was.
We had we do a corporate, I built a lot more teams this year for 2024. We have an internship team. I've always, not always, for 2 years, I've had what's called the Chingona Community Corps. It's kind of like a street team, because when I saw how many events talk about like the thought of burnout, I'm like, how did you do 56 events and there was only 52 weeks in the year,
Yeah.
And that's like multiple in a week on the weekends. So the corps is like, again, feet on the street. I appointed sergeants this year, which is super fun. So the corps, interns, we've got a youth ambassador group, which I'm really trying to strengthen, because this youth in this generation is very different. It was supposed
Oh
to be
yeah.
it was supposed to be all my scholarship winners, and I have like returning. The new ones, I can't wait to see what they do, but I have like one. So that's the ambassador program. So I'm going to help kind of like mold that later. And then I've got a corporate advisory group. And it's funny that you ask about the expansion, because last night we had our corporate advisory group, which includes right now 4, hopefully it'll be up to 5 corporate advisors. We do a quarterly meeting, virtual. We're talking like high up people. I love my group. And one of the ideas and things that we were trying to roll out, I let them know. I said, well, I'm looking at building chapters. And I said, not only have people suggested it, but you only have one life, so I ain't waiting. Everyone's like, well, maybe wait.
Yeah.
I'm like, I am not waiting. We've befriended some amazing people in Kansas City. So I've already built a expansion program that would be chapters. My goal being piloting one at the end of this quarter in Kansas, if I'm lucky, which I think I will be.
Okay.
And then we'll launch it for 2025. Goal being 3 total in 2025, even if they're not vetted and set up, but at least getting that process started. And then for 2026, hopefully having a total of 8.
Oh,
So
damn.
I have a hefty goal. Yeah.
Yeah. So what does that look like when you build a chapter out of state, and like are you still present?
So that's the thing. Our corporate advisory board, along with some legal support, especially folks that have done nonprofits and set up chapters, will be my next like learning venture, like my sounding boards. But for right now, it's just starting small, like identifying who the audience would be to even be that team. So picking the players,
Yeah.
and then going through all the steps that will be legal, state, what they would be required to do, how we incorporate it in bylaws, and or keep it a little bit separate. So that's all the process. Actually, that's going to be fun because that's something that I would have never done in my life. Been a part of groups that are national, but I'll get to learn from some of my more seasoned chingonas
Mm-hmm.
on how to do that. So I started just a general plan, but I've already started picking folks: Idaho, Texas, Kansas, um, like East Coast. There's a couple, and then don't really have anybody like down in. I have somebody in Atlanta as well. So
Okay.
picking up some of the major
Those are good
cities.
spots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
I want to see how like that plays out,
Me too. I can't wait.
because the word will become bigger and bigger, and
Hmm.
yeah, I'm excited for you.
Me too. Me too. And even it was funny because I don't know if I don't know if people fully not only thought we would be where we are, but I've said it before and I'll say it again. Like I'm not done yet. Like I am like way, way far up that hill to like stop now and to not continue what this can become. And I'm thrilled to see one day when I can say that I was the founder of that. I'm like, oh my gosh, she was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that, it's just like a tattoo, like knowing that it's gonna hurt as fuck. And then like at the very beginning, I'm like, oh, I'm like, but I can't wait till later. And like 6 hours later, it's gonna be so cool. Like it's kind
Yeah,
of like
yeah.
that kind of feeling,
Yeah.
So
Like
no,
a relief
yeah,
afterwards. It
yeah,
feels
yeah,
good and
yeah,
rewarding, I'm
yeah.
sure.
No, so I can't wait. And it's something that I can hang on my hat that I've done. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
It sounds like you have a lot of accomplishments.
Thanks. Well, a lot of learning, a lot of trial and error, a lot of questions.
So, with all this, like, where did the sense of community building come from?
I mean, I think truly it just goes back to needing other women, right? Like the women that I respect in my life, the best friends that I hold like close to like death secrecy to, like um we all should be a little bit more tight. And I think the sense of community is that like, hey, in all communities there's like a few of us. So like the more the merrier, like and then the more resources, right? So I think the sense of community really came from that from the women's standpoint. But then from the community giving standpoint, I've been doing this shit forever. Like, and not like, I mean, like Catholic school for my kids giving back, like,
Oh,
you know what I mean? Like,
okay. That
I've
makes
been giving
sense.
back like forever,
I
but like,
know, because private school does make you
we,
do that.
believe me, I have a conference call with the principal next week because of some changes that were made that I'm not okay with because
Do
I'm
you,
done with service hours.
do you ever did you ever work with like your kids' schools or anything?
I do
You
all the
do?
time. Oh
Yeah.
yeah. No,
Okay.
I've been doing
With
that
your
for
organization?
20, yeah, yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
And that's why I have a little bit of a little hiccup I need to get over because no, the organizations has helped my son's school actually with a really large car show that I'm very proud of. I
Nice.
did the car show out of the love of my dad and cars. And not only was it to spend time with him and learn, but
Like
more,
old
oh
cars?
yeah,
Oh, sweet.
lowriders and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So, yeah, oh no, totally. So, and that's the thing. I love to give back. And now that I'm older and I'm seeing what the Chingona community has become and what we do, but like let me do it on my own terms. Like let me pick my own clicks. What do you use it that you need? You need 10 grand? All right, let me see. There's these. Okay, we're gonna do like that. Like let me pick that and I'll do it. I'll find the sponsors, I'll find the DJs, I'll find the opportunity drawings and raffle items and the people to help. And guess what? Because we have a lot of fucking fun doing it. Like
Yeah.
it's fun. When you roll with us, it's so fun.
Yeah.
Wine tasting. I'm going to do this golf thing that I just talked to somebody about today. And but to me, like that's a fun way to give back. Like why not make it fun? You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that's where your sense of community kind of stemmed from, is just like feeling that you needed a community.
Yeah. Yeah. Because it's like where it's like a tribe. We all like, all right, girls. I'm like, who can do this? Or I love now that I've always gotten invited to things. from awards to conferences to the, but I love like now that people ask, like, hey, can the Chingona community come? I'm like, yeah, how many tickets can you give us? And we're all going to fill it up. Like,
Yeah.
and 80% of the women that like the core women that we've supported from 2019 to today, they would have never went.
Yeah.
And that was my big deal about the awards. I'm like, I want a space one time a year that these women can get in their gowns, get dolled up, and be like, we are going to this ball. Like, no, like, because
Yeah,
they
that's
don't
so
get,
cool.
some people don't get that. Like,
For
they're not
sure.
as fortunate as me. I've been doing this shit since working at Xerox back in 2002. Like, going to all these, or their ERG, the employee resource groups, you know, the different diverse groups, which they're diverse, but not because they still stay separate. Like, but I mean, my point is that that's the sense of community, like bring everyone together, like
Yeah, for
nobody be
sure.
afraid, you all come, like come, yeah, come and see, you know.
And I know you mentioned it's for everyone, but I think with our culture, like being a Latina, a lot of us, including myself, have a hard time asking for help or a hard time looking for people to include us.
Yeah.
And like I mentioned earlier, like being just Latino in general, like you have a hard time finding a space for you,
Mm-hmm.
especially when, you know, for example, like you're on the before on the census, like you're white. You have to mark that you're white when nobody looks at you like you're white, nobody treats you
Right.
like you're white.
Right.
And so that alone is like there's no space for me.
Right.
Even when you're light skinned Latino, like people don't want to say you're a person of color.
Right.
And it's like, where do I fit in on
Right.
this like spectrum of different types of ethnicities and races? And I think with Latinas, especially like women, well, as it is women, we already feel like we're like a second class citizen,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. Well, I mean, in Instagram and society makes us feel that way, that we have to compete, you know,
Yeah.
who looks better, who's thinner, who's prettier, has longer
Yes.
hair, who's got a better purse. I mean, like, who gives a shit? Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like our world is set up for men to succeed,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
and like that even shows in our like our health system. The,
Yep.
you know, doctors know more about a man's body than a woman's body.
Mm.
And so it's like, so not only do Latinas feel like they don't have a space in their identity of culture, but like as a woman too. So when
Yeah.
you combine those two, like, yeah, there's not really spaces for us.
Yeah.
And I don't feel like I had any spaces growing up. And I wish there was an organization like yours because I was looking for things like that.
Yeah.
I used to organize events because I wanted to create a space for people. And then it stopped because of like the pandemic and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
but
Mm-hmm.
like, and I got kind of busy. But I was looking for organizations and I wanted to help women too. Like, it's just something that I knew that I was missing and I wanted
Yep.
that I couldn't find.
Yeah. Yeah. And well, that's the thing. I'm an open door, like everyone come. Like, I mean, when we first started and when I started seeing what it was evolving into, I'm like, oh my God, this is great. I'm like, so and so. I'm like, I did this. I'm like, so like, you know, and I love the not, I mean, there's not like only one, but there's a couple. I love the small group of women that I remember the day when you said, like, I think I'm gonna do this. And this is why I love it so much, because you did it. I'm like, oh cool, thanks. Because like again, it's encouraging, right? I
Yeah.
love when I get whether it be a text or the meme, like, but I love when I get other women that come back and encourage me, because it reminds me that what I'm doing is impactful, and that it's doing exactly what you said. It's breaking down the barrier to show that we can be still a community, and that we lack community. So let's try to do it. Like, let's,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? And oh, by the way, like, we're going to do it in my space because I won't have it any other way.
And I think just like off of your energy, like you have a good leadership, like you have some sense of leadership as a good skill.
Thanks.
And I think like I like you talking about your organization. I'm like, I want to be a part of this.
Come on down.
Yeah. But we're getting closer to closing out. So I do want to ask for like any advice that you would give anybody. If you have anything off the top of your head, just like what advice would you give to somebody that is in maybe or has been in your shoes,
Yeah.
or somebody that is looking to do something similar to you?
You know, I said it earlier and it was kind of cliche to say it, but like no goal or dream is seriously outlandish. And I don't think it's one thing as kids, like, what would you dream to be? Like, okay, fine, but we got to remember, like, they're going to be an adolescent, everyone's going to change. It's like, you know, like, but like truly, like, if there's something that you want to do, like, don't ever think you can't do it, because you totally can't. Like people gripe about, well, I don't have enough money, or I don't have enough time, or I've never done it before. Like, no, but if you really, 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 like truly in your core want to do something, you can. It's all in your mind. If in your mind you believe that you're going to do it, you're going to totally do it. But if you start doubting yourself, and again, confidence issues can come and go, but at the end of the day, if you really, really believe it and you want it that bad, keep going. Like, don't stop. Like, no matter what, do not stop. Don't let somebody give you, you're going to get poor advice anyways, and no matter which way you slice it.
Yeah.
But you could truly do anything that you really want to if you want it that bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How did you also help with like your self-talk, like your inner dialogue?
I talk to myself a
What do
lot.
you say though? Like what
Like,
did you remember saying to yourself that like helped you get this far?
bitch, you can do this. Bitch, like, okay, bitch, don't stop now. Like, you've come too far. Like, seriously, if you stop, like, come on now. Like, come on, Rozalyn, like, practice what you preach. If you're telling all these women that they can do it, like, you have to do it too. Like, just really, I think my talking myself off the ledge is just reminding myself that you are just as good. You know, you have great a support circle. You've got great kids, you've got great people in your life. I think it's really just reminding myself that I am badass. And whether I do that in the shower or however that might be, but constantly reminding myself that I'm exactly what I'm giving to the women that are taking from me, which is not a bad statement. I just mean what I'm giving, it's the same thing. You got to keep,
Yeah,
you
the
got to keep,
balance
yeah,
of the
no,
flow for
completely,
sure, like the cycle of it.
totally.
Definitely. I just spoke with one of my friends telling me that like some, especially women, because she's so many things, and she's a counselor and she's a coach, and she was saying how women especially, we give and give and give, and we don't allow ourselves to get and
Mm-hmm.
receive.
Mm-hmm.
And she was just saying for like a healthy balance, you need to have that balance of giving and receiving.
Yep.
And for us women, we struggle with that a lot.
Yep.
And so I totally agree with you when you're saying that. I did also want to ask you. We have a couple more minutes, but like, have you ever had like any anxious thoughts or doubt when you were doing all of this process of the organization?
Yeah, a lot, because it was financially, like, I don't want to say a financial burden, but like the financial piece scared the shit out of me.
Yeah.
Because when I started seeing things like kind of move around, I'm like, oh fuck, I'm like, oh my god, oh my god. But if we don't have the money, I'm like, I have to pay for it. I have to pay for it. And even one of my very, very first sponsors, who it was a very emotional meeting when I met him, because he asked me about, and I mean, he really dug deep, and I wasn't ready for it, I guess, that day. He's like, you are so like, I don't know if you use the word empowering, but whatever accolades and whatever pump up he gave me, like, I mean, all I can do is just cry. And I said, yeah, I go, well, I promised the girls, I'm like, we're going to have this awards. I'm like, and if we don't have the money, I go, I'm just going to put it on my credit card. And I'll never forget him telling me that's like rule number one that you don't do with a nonprofit. He's like, you can't. And I didn't get what he was saying until now, but that's the thing. Like, just figure out a way to get the funds. Don't keep carrying this burden, because all I'm going to keep doing is digging down and digging down and digging down. And it wasn't until that time that I had made a commitment to the women. I had said that we're going to do something. And if I say I'm going to do something, we're going to do it.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of like, that was a struggle and was worrisome, because a nonprofit is a business.
Yeah.
You need IT, you need, from postage to operating budget to legal to insurance to banking. Like, it's a business,
For sure.
for others, like to grow and succeed, right? But I think that scared me a little bit when I did really realize the financial impact and what I didn't have.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how the fuck am I going to get that? But now I'm like, oh, well, that was dumb. Like, but I mean, nobody teaches you that. Like,
Yeah, for sure.
there's no such thing. Like, I can't wait till later in life, hopefully teach in higher ed, which I do have that as one of my bucket lists, to teach a nonprofit course. What some of the starting pillars, what it means. If your purpose and your passion is this, it probably is a nonprofit, but it's this, it might be an LLC and an S corp. Like, I can't wait to teach somebody this, because nobody teaches you this.
Seriously, I didn't learn anything in high school.
No, even in college, you don't learn this.
That's true. That is true.
I mean, maybe certain programs will have certificates stuff on this, but if there's somebody that's really a born leader and a born servant, and really in their heart of hearts has a purpose or a passion, whether it be women or animals or food or global war, whatever it might be. There really isn't a little trade that says, oh, this is a nonprofit. Now
Yeah.
I think it's getting a little bit more out there because of the community activists and like the real authentic people, like some of the peers that I have that have great organizations. I think that it's in existence, but you still like nobody, like, again, I didn't grow up saying I can't wait to have a nonprofit. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Like I can't wait to inspire women one day. Like I didn't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so we'll close out here. Where can we find you? What events do you have coming up? What's going on?
A huge one, actually. Next Saturday is our third annual Chingona Community Youth Day. I'm
Okay.
super, super proud of it. We'll be hosting that on July 20th from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. in the city of Whittier, Uptown Whittier on Greenleaf. That information would be up on our Instagram and Facebook. Also, follow us on Instagram and Facebook, Chingona Community. And then our website is www.chingonacommunity.com. And then I would say that the next big, big event for people to watch out for, which I can't wait to see how massive this gets, our community serving event for the holidays, is we do a canned food drive. So dates not necessarily like in stone, but it's usually like right before Thanksgiving. But that would be another really large event. And then obviously we have stuff trickled in. But Youth Day next Saturday. And again, just the follow on Instagram or Facebook.
Yay! Thank you for doing this and thank you for being here.
Hey, stay chingona.
Yeah. Okay, cool.
Oh, I love
That
it.
was fun.
Yeah, no, good. Oh my gosh, so good. I appreciate you. I
Yeah.
appreciate you.
I've been so I what I used to do, and it probably helps people, but I was doing questions for people when I
Yeah,
would interview them
yeah, yeah,
prior, and
yeah.
I should probably still get to that, but